Let's go to episode 4. I'm still awake. All right. It's 1:30 in the morning. Making good time, right? Episode 4. Episode 4 was the first time I went outside. Not ever, but dog hair. It was the first time I went outside, fitting too, because Fallon's in this video.
You're wild. What are you doing? What are you doing? You're supposed to be my partner. You're supposed to be my partner. You're supposed to be my partner.
I was thinking about like where I was gonna go. Like I was talking about like where my first outing was gonna be, as far as taking almost like I'm calling it like a field trip. Where the first field trip was going to be for photography, and the best part about this channel is I can take the dog with me. I have not got it yet. There it goes. Thank you. So, with my wife working nights, which is changing in next month, actually April. She's worked nights for 18 years, so it's gonna be nice that I can make more noise. I can, if she's working, I can take the dog, which that's always been a thing, or I can leave the dog if I have to take the bike, somewhere or something like that for a couple hours. We don't leave her very, very long. We've always done that with our previous dog as well. But it's cool to be able to take the dog with me on this channel. That's a whole different story. Moving on. Oops. Come back. So I was thinking, I was like, where's the best place to go? And I was like, well, why not just pump the brakes a little bit and stay at the house and film something here. So I was outside on the back deck, and the dog was like doing her thing and whining and stuff. And today it's barren. It has no leaves. It's still messy. Come here. What are you doing? I gotta feed her lunch, but she needs me to cook her some lunch, which is scooping and pouring in a bowl. But come here, buddy. Come here. What's wrong? She's in a skittish phase now. Let me get the ball. So I paused. It was pretty funny. Got to see Fallon for the first time, and I was talking about, there's a tree in my front yard that we lived in this house for about 15 years. We moved in, and the tree was obviously there. It's full grown, Bradford pear, leaves a mess, and somebody in this house would say that tree is on borrowed time. My wife would say that, so therefore it's on borrowed time. I'll probably end up cutting it down this year and burning it and all that stuff. But I've walked by this tree for 15 years, right? Day in, day out. And with the exception of a few occasions where there was, a wasp nest that had to be taken care of, the leaves that fall yearly, the blooming of the Bradford pear that my wife hates, the smell of, that's all in this neighborhood. So even when we cut this one down, there's 100 other trees that we go for a walk and witness, or she smells. But tree limbs that split over a bad storm, and there's a handful of stuff, pruning, just the usual stuff. But outside of that, I walk by this and ignore it every day. Don't think anything of it. And one of the cool things about photography is you're capturing a moment in time. So this tree will be gone probably this year. But taking pictures of it and practicing, but actually having some intentionality behind the practice too. Capturing the moment, capturing the tree, was pretty cool. It was definitely neat. Fallon wasn't having I think it was the tripods. I had set up the obviously the Nikon D5600. The GoPro was at one angle, and the Insta360 was capturing my audio, because I knew how to do that at that time, more so than hooking up to the camera and stuff. And I was using, I don't know if it was one of the DJI mics, the mic 2 or mic 3. I'm not sure which one, but it was neat because it was also like I would have done the cameras different. The GoPro, the 360, I don't care for the 360, and I'm in the process of selling it. But even putting an ND filter, something as simple as putting an ND filter on the GoPro, I would have done that differently. So it's neat to go back and look at that. But I keep trying to elaborate, but I'm trying to gotta stay focused on what it was about. Look at my notes. Move on. Filming in public. So that's something that I have done very little about, but I was talking about filming in public. It was more nerve-wracking because it was at home. I think that was actually harder to do at home. Another thing that I'm learning is how to tune out some of the outside noise. So although I'm in the comforts of my own home, sirens, I don't know if you can hear that, but I'm in the comfort of my own home. It's still a little nerve-wracking. So if that bothers you, you're not alone. I've thought of ways around that, which I think I talk about in a later video, so I'll just stop there. One of the cool things about me sharing my journey is that I think that you could benefit from is learning from, I'll always tell myself, one of the cool things about the fire department is every blemish that we have in the fire service, you know, when it comes down to, I'm on the Mayday team, so there's a line of duty death, a Mayday's called, they open the books to any, like the major investigations like NIOSH and OSHA and later they do articles on fire science or fire engineering magazines and stuff, but they always like find ways to mitigate that solution or mitigate that problem and obviously find that solution, and they tell them themselves. And that's what I'm planning on doing on this channel. And I discuss, you know, like, hey, you know, you can learn from my mistakes. I'm not going to be perfect. I don't claim to be perfect, but this is a cool video. Just I had to be soft spoken because my wife was sleeping, the dog was whining. So as much of like a train wreck as it kind of was, the video didn't give it enough evidence of that, but it was funny how I had to like stop and start, and I cut it short because the dog was whining. My wife's a light sleeper, and it was cool. It gave me a smile though looking back on it. So first outing in the books, first field trip, right?
We're both gonna get in trouble. She heard you.
All right, the next episode 5, hit record. I did. Nice. Still betting 1,000 out of that, just for this channel, not the other channel. But I discussed the video that I had previously shot, or well, yeah, shot, and the photography that I was doing in that video with the tree, and I was looking at. I was very close to punting on the whole project and waiting to a different day. And on top of that, I was actually going to use the GoPro to film, so an action camera to film instead of the Nikon. And the reason I was because it was like I knew I was going to be able to get the shot of me talking on the back deck with Fallon. But then I realized, like, if I'm trying to learn, why not use the item I'm trying to learn on, right? The camera. So mainly used for photography, but there's also video mode. So why not do that? I had a GoPro as a backup, and I had the Insta360 to record my sound on a lav mic. So I was thinking about punting on the Nikon, but overall it was an experience that I wanted to. I mean, if this is all about learning, what better time to start than a present, right? I waited this long before I started photography. Why not just dive into it? So ultimately, I'm glad I did. The image came out better, and I learned how to use it a little bit better. Obviously a work in progress still, but that's what I'm doing here. That's why I'm on episode 11 and not 111, right? I think I was talking about too. I took some notes, so I might as well keep going here. I was talking about filming through the chaos with the dog honking, whining and honking. She honks. So she's a lot of animals mixed into one. But as I mentioned previously, my wife was sleeping. She was on, I think it was like night 4 in a row. So she was becoming a zombie at that point, and really trying hard not to disturb her. But at the same time, I wanted to do the photography, and she never said anything. So I think it was a success, even the dog being as crazy as she was. But I filmed through it all. I was learning to kind of tune things out. I just discussed on the previous videos that I've taken on the motovlog side, the motorcycle channel, that anything I've done in public, I've pretty much just tuned everybody out. It's new. It's kind of tough trying to be around the other channel that I run here on YouTube, and I kind of ignore people. Hopefully that. Gotta sync every time I stop hitting record. I gotta sync it back up. Man, this is pretty cool looking. It takes a long time, but it's gonna be worth it for the other channel. Maybe not this. Is not everybody's cup of tea. I get it, but this is gonna be pretty cool. So I don't really know what I plan on doing. I was gonna do this, kind of like head down. This way. It's a cool little cut through. Back of the shopping center ends up going to. And I think I'll be able to ignore people more so when I leave the property. I think I'll be back in that mindset. I took a handful of thumbnails, as far as like YouTube thumbnails, where I would take make a video, and then I would just take a screenshot of it, screen grab screenshot of the video, and then I would just take it to Lightroom and add, and I used Canva back then to add the text and stuff, and I tuned it out. It was harder this time because it was at home and my neighbors were around and stuff, and me tuning them out wasn't like a stranger. It was like somebody that was going to ask me, "Hey man, what are you doing?" Or, "Hey, why are you taking pictures of your tree with a camera that they never seen me with? Why do you have a tripod? You know, why are you talking with 3 tripods in your backyard?" Then I would probably ask them, "Why are you looking over my fence?" So it was definitely a different experience. It was a little more nerve-wracking. I wasn't really able to tune it out, but maybe Fallon helped me out, and by her whining and making me stop short, nobody really saw me. So that was that. This was a lot of the studio side. So I show first time I had a camera behind me facing. What do you see my setup? I've changed the lighting around, where I have the lighting more proper as far as a 45 for a key light, a fill light, a little high, but it's over here too to fill in the shadows. So the lighting is better, but essentially everything else is the same. A lot of clutter right now because I'm charging batteries and stuff from a ride that I did on the bike and filmed. I don't know why. I just like charging batteries. I don't know why. Anyway, moving on. Not related to this. I talked about how I'm not an anxious person, but today was very unnerving. So kind of exactly what I was alluding to with the neighbors potentially seeing me look into the window. I have one neighbor that sees everything, so I'm sure he saw me out there, and I just didn't bother discussing it. But and I appreciate that. Filming a lot of what I discussed when I was talking about having the tree split during a storm, and how cut limbs and pruning, and some of the chainsaw, the burn marks that was left on the knot now of the tree, or where the tree limb has been cut. So I actually went through at the end of the video, and I showed the editing. It's not me actually editing the video, but I showed like a before and after, and I really like that, like showing not the process of me like going through the sliders and stuff on Lightroom, but more so like, here's the raw, and then behind it, like make this one transparent, right, to 0, and then show the post, kind of what I turned it into. And I really like being able to, so I've touched on it in the video, but some people would think that if you touch up too much, you ruin the image. There's a plethora of different photographers out there and different opinions, and ultimately what matters is if you are a photographer, is do it for yourself. Do it because that's what makes it your individual shot, your capture, the composition, that exposure itself, the way you shoot it is what makes it unique. So that's what I was kind of getting at too. And then the last thing is on the camera, I was going over how I talk about how I shoot in manual. Nice autofocus. How I shoot in manual, and this is the first time that I shot with the aperture priority. Didn't know a lot about it, but one thing that's cool is I was telling my buddy Tennis, who gifted this to me, but my buddy, formerly 5-Day Photography, his business, which he no longer does. That's anyway, moving on. But if I was having a hard time capturing or trying to get the settings right for the exposure triangle, I was telling him that I would slide into aperture priority. It would keep the aperture exactly where it is, but it would adjust the shutter speed and the ISO, I believe, at the same time. And it would kind of get me in a ballpark. So then when I would go back into manual, I could train myself. But the thing I don't like about the reason why I like shooting in manual is because aperture priority is what the camera, in auto as well, is what the camera thinks is the right exposure, right? But it can't dial in what you want it to be. It just dials in what it deems the most appropriate. So manual's the way. Manual is the ticket. So that was kind of a way to test myself and bounce back from aperture priority to manual. So I did that. It was the first time I shot that in that mode, actually, knowing what it was and not an accident. Because I think the first time I thought that was automatic. There is an auto, but I thought A was automatic. I don't know why. I second automatic. Anyway, moving on. So I'll screen record what I'm doing. I'm not going to talk through it. And we'll see what I got. If I could have said it again, I would have said, and we'll see what I captured. I'm not there yet.
Shipwreck in the dark, far from the harbor, far from the start. In a storm, I lost my sails, I lost all direction, caught in the veil.
2:27 in the morning. Just finished episode 6. Episode 6 was 30 minutes, by far my longest video on the channel to date. Probably this one will be the longest. But anyway, moving right along. This one starts off with photography is hard. Yes, it is. Very hard. It's not just a point and click like I've done, with my cell phone, like many people do. They take a picture and don't think anything of it. But this discussed like all the rules, a bunch of rules for composition and learning. I told my buddy Patrick, I told him, I said that I wanted to learn the rules so that when I chose to break them, I could tell you why. And so just talking about keeping an eye on my notes here, so many rules, and it was just about composition. So your subject clarity in order of the video, subject clarity, leading lines, framing, negative space, and depth. Leading lines is my favorite. And I go over my favorite thumbnail to date, or at least when this was shot, or this episode 6 was shot, was a picture of me I was leaving work. There's lots of stories behind it, but it was a picture of me on my bike, or like sitting beside my bike or standing, whatever. And it was sunrise, and I was in frame with the bridge behind me and the pillars of the bridge, essentially the behind me, leading lines there, the leading lines of the parking lot, because I was in the parking space. So there's a lot to that, the depth of it. So if you look at subject clarity, so between those two lines, it led your eyes right to me. And what I was trying, the intentionality, once again, the intentions of that photo was right there. And it's one of my favorite pictures for a thumbnail that I've ever taken. And it goes to show you that, learning photography, that image, I'm not beating my chest, but that image was one of my better ones as far as showing the viewer what they were supposed to see. It was obvious what was your eyes were supposed to be directed to. Leading lines, like I said, the framing, the negative space, which that may or may not have been in there, but the depth of it between the foreground, the front of the parking spot, me in the mid, and then the Jordan Bridge in the back. And I did glance to see if I hit record. So it was discussing about like how difficult photography is when you try to follow the rules. If somebody ever calls you out on, well, this wasn't shot a certain way, why your leading lines are off or something like that, but then you discuss why you did that, and it was for a different reason. Because the not lines. The rules contradict themselves. And I was watching a photographer on YouTube, and he was discussing, he went over like 20 different photos that people sent in, and he critiqued them. And by the time he got to like the 7th or 8th photo, he was literally contradicting something that he said prior to. Like photo 2 was the thing that he didn't like about it, or he said was wrong, not didn't like, but was wrong based on his eye. But he was making it sound factual. By the 8th, 9th, or 10th photo, he was contradicting himself. So it goes to show you that there are rules, right? Based on human behavior and the way that your eye sees things. But you can't follow every rule. And the art or the ability to break them is by your own eye in the own art that you're trying to create. So that was something. It was funny because I was also realizing that the more I'm learning, the more I kept referencing, like, the more I peel back an onion, like I learned this layer of photography, then there's another layer below it. And I kept going down these different rules and learning between the exposure triangle and now a composition and making, framing my subject correctly. And the more rules more I learn about photography, the more like things I have to learn. So I reference like taking a picture and getting the right composition, but then knowing that I need to get proper lighting. So then you got to dive down that rabbit hole. And then as you change this light, you change your settings again in your to get a lower ISO to eliminate noise. And there's so many things that you learn, and when you master it, when you so-called master it, I don't think anybody that truly I think loves photography will ever call themselves a master or master of photography, because I don't think you can. I think that once you get to the point where you feel real comfortable about this, like when I say master this, I don't master it. I just get to the point where I'm comfortable and I want to move up. Same thing about photography. Once you feel like, if you're taking landscaping photography and you feel like you're at the point where you feel real confident, and maybe the challenge, the lure of that, the chase of it, of getting the perfect photo, and you can be great at, a master of your craft in a way, but for someone to say they master photography, I think will be doing photography alone a disservice, not only to themselves as well, because then when do you stop learning? If you truly mastered something, you're not going to learn anything. So right then and there, it should prove that if you have always something to learn, whether it's about your camera or about another photographer or artist, so many changing. I mean, it's crazy. Like, people will take a light bulb and break a light bulb and put wax over it and use that as a lens, to shoot through that to make a cloudy image and stuff. And seeing that, I haven't done that. I haven't come close. So if I mastered my shot here, what about different ways to actually shoot a scene or shoot a product or shoot a subject? If you master landscape photography, what about street photography? You're never going to get to the point where you learn everything in really anything you do. So, and if you do, like I said, you've done yourself a disservice. So I mentioned it's a lifetime of learning, right? And then basically, if you think you mastered it, you need to find another hobby. Moving on with that. I go over the fact that I talk about the one shot, and I had the drone with me, and I tell a couple stories about that particular morning. And that photo right there represents a lot of stuff. I was up all night at work. I'm in a parking lot that's pretty isolated. There's nothing else going on. The shop there is closed. A restaurant is closed. There's a couple people putting their boats in the water. Had a drone flying overhead, and I'm in a parking space by myself, and somebody parks skip one over and parks next to me, and I had to tighten my shot, get him out of the frame, and I put the video in there, some B-roll and stuff, and I'd seen him before because I shot a different video there. And a gentleman was working and emptying the trash, but it was funny. He parked right next to me, and I think he worked there. I don't know. There's some weird stuff that went on, and I tuned him out, believe it or not, for the most part. But that picture reminds me of that, the car next to me, or two spaces down, having to tighten the shot up and actually inadvertently getting a better shot with the leading lines. The sunrise. I remember the sunrise. I remember the footage of the boats going in the water. So all that is based on one still image that I captured. So it was really cool. But I also show, adding music to it, how I shoot something and how I edit and post, or how I, the way I shoot the composition. So one is the normal image. It's the normal image that I have. I had it in RAW. I added, did some color grading to it, or color correcting, I should say. I'm sorry. And then I turn that image. I zoom in on more of my lower body with my feet on the ground. Crop in with that. I crop to more of my upper torso. So I take that composition and I show it different ways. And each way I show it tells a different story, invokes a different emotion. And then I darken everything down like it's sunset or something, potentially, or earlier, darker. And then I make one black and white. And even black and white, I could have made it darker or lighter. And I actually made it lighter in this case. So, and I'm sure I showed the B-roll here. It can, well, I don't know. I'm asking you, what does that portray to you? I don't have any writing on it. I don't, like you would on a thumbnail. That's just the image itself. And maybe I can take that image and if I have the original, I can go back and find the original in RAW and change it a couple ways and see if it changes maybe the way that you portray that image. But it was just cool. I mean, it's just that one image can be shown so many different ways to invoke different emotion. Photography is cool. Pretty damn cool, if I do say so myself. Episode 6, 30 minutes. Yeah. Photography, composition. This was the first morning of my vacation. Standing here, watching the sun come up at the Jordan Bridge, nearly 200 feet up in the air. It got me thinking about time and longevity. We talk a lot about upgrading, replacing, moving on, whether it's the camera equipment, audio fixes, and overall motorcycles. But there's something about riding the same bike long enough that it becomes part of your story. To keep something running, not because you have to, but because you want to. You never forget your first motorcycle. And sometimes the real goal isn't what you're riding next. It's how long you choose to enjoy the ride you're already on. This 2011 Honda Shadow 750 is my first motorcycle, and with the help of another motovlogger along the way, the idea of riding it to 100,000 miles stopped being a challenge and started feeling like a promise.